In the Star Wars prequels, we see the romance between Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker and Queen of Naboo Padme Amidala, and how the overly attached Anakin suffers from an intense fear of losing Padme. His attachment and fear are so powerful that he's willing to betray the Jedi Order and turn to the dark side if that stops him from being separated from the person he's deeply in love with. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, his worst fear comes true, leading to intense emotional pain. Although extreme, Anakin's fear of loss is a fear many people share, and often we go to great lengths to keep the people we love close to us. However, the Stoics warn against strong attachments to things not in our control, including other people. For example, according to Epictetus, someone wishing his children, wife and friends to live forever is foolish, as we try to control things we cannot and hope for the impossible to happen. Still, people struggle greatly after losing their loved ones, which seems to be a natural part of life. Also, the mere idea of losing someone close to us causes anxiety in many. But the Stoics observed that the fear of loss and the torturing distress of grief are consequences of irrational thinking. This video explores Stoic philosophy in the context of attachment, loss of loved ones, and how to deal with being separated from those we care about. Our attachments to people seem to be a celebrated and normal part of life. This is probably the case because, in many ways, our biology has programmed us to bond with other human beings, but the strength of our attachments varies, from fondness and attraction to being unhealthily obsessed with someone. When we're attached to someone, we wish that this person is present, and when this person is present, we don't want them to leave us. Emotionally, such an attitude leads to problems, and the stronger the attitude, the more troublesome it becomes. Attachment to something not in our control, be it an object or a person, leads to us putting our happiness in the hands of fate. After all, fate decides if what we're attached to stays by our side or leaves us, and so, Fortuna, the goddess of chance and luck, can play with us, making us feel happy one moment and sad another. And we often try hard to stop ourselves from parting from the people and things we're attached to, which the story of Anakin Skywalker shows us as he betrays the Jedi Order and turns to the dark side just to keep Padme in his life. From a Stoic point of view, Anakin is not free. His desires control him, and he is a toy of fate. If he were free, his actions wouldn't be dictated by outside circumstances, attachments and desires, and crippling emotions like fear, hate and jealousy. Instead, he would act from a place of logic, free from troubling emotions regarding external things. At its heart, trying to keep the people we're attached to in our lives is a selfish pursuit. When we want people to be with us, we generally don't want this for them, nor the improvement of the common good, but to fulfill our own selfish want, which is the not wanting to part from what we're fond of. Focused on our interests, we tend to make decisions that aren't smart or wise. We just want to satisfy our desires. And as Epictetus told us, whatever appears to stand in the way of our interest, we hate, blame, and curse, which clearly shows in the ways of Anakin, who causes death and destruction just to fulfill his selfish needs. I quote, "For its nature is to love nothing so much as its own interest. This to it is father and brother, and kinsman, and country and God." When, for instance, we think that the gods stand in the way of our attainment of this, we revile even them, cast their statues to the ground, and burn their temples, as Alexander ordered the temples of Asclepius to be burned when his loved one died. End quote. We could say that the widely celebrated romantic love and other strong attachments to things not in our control are potential recipes for disaster. How much violence and murder has humanity brought upon itself because of these attachments? When a friend dies, your spouse leaves you for a lover, or a child wishes to never see you again, you likely feel that something that's yours is taken from you. The separation from the people you care for probably comes with the idea of loss. You've lost someone, but from a Stoic point of view, this isn't the right way to look at such events. You don't lose people, you give them back, as they were never yours. Never say of anything, "I have lost it, but I have returned it." Is your child dead? It is returned. Is your wife dead? She is returned, said Epictetus. The fourth book of Epictetus' Discourses thoroughly explains why external things like our children, family members, or spouses are not in our control, and therefore not actually ours. Most of what we call possessions aren't truly our possessions, as we can lose these things in the blink of an eye. When it comes to the people we're attached to, most of us probably find ourselves in a gray area. In the days of Epictetus, slavery was common. People used to own other people as property. Epictetus used to be a slave himself before he began teaching philosophy in Rome and later Nicopolis. But today, slavery isn't common anymore, and we generally don't see the people around us, be it employees, family members, or friends, as our possessions. However, we often still tend to feel a degree of ownership over the presence of these people. We think that our friends and family owe us time and attention, our employees arrive at work on time, and our spouses don't do things that make us feel unhappy. Moreover, we often feel linked to the people we care for, as if they are part of us and belong in our lives. But as much as we think that something or someone is ours, it's probably not the case. External things are never ours because if they were, they would always do as we wish. They'd never leave us, and no one would be able to take them away. Thus, from a Stoic point of view, ownership of external things is just an illusion. It's at odds with reality. I quote, "When you want your body to be whole, is the matter under your control or not? It is not. And when you want it to be well, nor that either, and to live or to die, nor that either. Therefore, your body is not your own possession. It is subject to everyone who is stronger than you are, granted. And your farm, is it under your control to have it when you want, and as long as you want, and in the condition that you want? No. And your poultry slaves? No. And your clothes? No. And your poultry house? No. And your horses? None of these things. And if you wish by all means your children to live, or your wife, or your brother, or your friends, is the matter under your control? No, nor that either." End quote. In addition, Epictetus argued that all these external things are subject to the revolution of the universe, something outside of any human being's control, unless this person possesses the power of an all-powerful God. When Padme told Anakin he's not all-powerful, he answered, "Well, I should be," as he realized that the only way to keep Padme safe is through total, all-encompassing power. It's not a shock that we often speak of romantic love as passionate, as like nothing else in the world. The strong feeling for another person stirs the passions, leading to unpredictable emotional experiences. Again, today's society seems to view being in passionate romances as positive. Many even consider being in love as one of the best possible states available to the individual. Unsurprisingly, the ancient Stoics saw the passions as a problem, as explored in a previous video called How Not to Be Pathetic. They identified 4 passions: pleasure, desire, distress, and fear. Being attached to someone,
let alone deeply in love, brings together a mix of all four passions. When a beloved friend is with us, we experience pleasure. When he isn't there, we experience a desire for his presence. The woman who a man is in love with, he fears losing, and when she leaves him or dies, he likely experiences terrible pain. But according to the Stoics, the thoughts before the passions are irrational views of the situation. For example, there's nothing inherently good about someone being in your presence, from a Stoic point of view. There's also nothing inherently bad about a person leaving you or dying. Loss and death are part of life, neutral at best. But if we irrationally see things as good and others as bad, we'll bring out the passions as our thinking does not follow reason. And so, the Stoics seek to remove the passions using logic. Epictetus gives the following advice: "This is what you ought to practice from morning till evening. Begin with the most trifling things, the ones most exposed to injury, like a pot or a cup, and then advance to a tunic, a paltry dog, a mere horse, a bit of land, thence to yourself, your body and its members, your children, wife, brothers. Look about on every side, and cast these things away from you. Purify your judgments, for fear lest something of what is not your own may be fastened to them, or grown together with them, and may give you pain when it is torn loose." End quote. When Anakin and Padme discussed their impossible romance and their feelings for each other, Padme wanted to follow the voice of reason. Because of Anakin's duty to the Jedi Order and her position as a senator, a romantic relationship was not possible, no matter how they felt about each other. But Anakin stated, and I quote, "You're asking me to be rational. That is something that I know I cannot do. Believe me, I wish I could just wish away my feelings, but I can't." End quote. But could he? According to Stoicism, with the right mindset, training and practice, it's very possible to let go of strong attachments to other people and be able to handle it when someone close to us departs from our lives. Should a follower of Stoicism be emotionless in the face of loss? Keeping calm after someone close to us dies is challenging for most people. Freeing oneself from the passions is central to Stoicism, but it's very hard to achieve and takes time and a lot of practice. In all likelihood, even ancient Stoic wise men like Epictetus, Chrysippus, and Seneca weren't perfect at it, but at least they tried. Also, the Stoics acknowledge what they call proto-emotions, which are feelings that come up automatically, and we don't have control over them. A proto-emotion could be an initial shock when encountering danger, or one's eyes watering when hearing about a tragedy. Stoicism isn't about hiding these automatic bodily reactions, but about freeing ourselves from the passions that come afterward if we think irrationally. One of Seneca's letters shows us an interesting view on handling the grief of loss. In 41 AD, the new Empress Messalina accused Seneca of adultery. Initially, the Senate sentenced Seneca to death, but Emperor Claudius changed this to exile, and so Seneca left for the island of Corsica, where he spent the next 8 years. While in exile, he sent a letter to his mother Helvia, in which he offered her comfort as she was sad about her son's fate. Seneca told her not to find reasons to cry without stopping. He also mentioned that their ancestors set aside 10 months of mourning for women who had lost their husbands, and thus controlled their grief by limiting it. I quote, "They did not forbid them to mourn, but they set limits to their grief. For while it is a foolish weakness to give way to endless grief, when you lose one of those dearest to you, yet it shows an unnatural hardness of heart to express no grief at all. The best middle course between affection and hard common sense is both to feel regret and to restrain it." End quote. And so it seems that Seneca advised a middle path, to grieve in a measured way, and with limits. Such a view on grief is different from the ideal described by Epictetus, which is a calm individual who's not upset by the loss of loved ones. But the vast majority of people aren't Stoic sages and will experience grief. For them, Seneca offers a practical way to deal with loss, not the complete removal of the passions, but moderation. Still, he urged his mother to take charge of her emotional well-being by studying philosophy and working at it. This will heal your wounds and take away all your sadness, he wrote. Thank you for watching.